Welcome back to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. Today, we're continuing on our mini-series of Drow in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. I'm Ehlwyn, and I'm lurking through the Underdark with Pepperina and Megan while we take a look at some demonic allies of the Drow.
With everything changing as D&D 5th Edition gets the 2024 updates, it's important that we don't lose any lore or details that previous editions had to offer. However, even as we pour over everything Drow from 5th edition, it is also important to understand the problematic nature of some of the Drow history. So make sure you listen to episode 0 of this series and keep it all in mind.
In this episode, this panel of Dungeon Masters is going to dig into some fiendish creatures that you might find in the shadows of the Underdark, either summoned by evil Drow or drawn into their evil ways.
Yeah, so in the book, the little section says like Demonweb connections. So in the Abyss, Lolth has her own personal realm known as the Demonweb Pits. This is a place the Drow can truly revel in. Where most mortal creatures fear the demons of the Abyss, the Drow have much respect for their powers and will often summon demons to the Underdark. Obviously, being Drow, they do this when they want something from the demon. This is usually something like gaining more power or defeating an enemy. I really, when I read through this, stumbled over the word enemy so many times. I don't know why I can't say it.
Absolutely crushing
it. A demon that answers one of these calls does so because it wants something in return. This could be something like causing death and destruction or gaining favor from Lolth herself. Most often, each party will get what they want from the deal and carry on with their lives. There is the rare occasion that a demon summoning can go bad. A few examples of this would be the Drow not taking the correct precautions when trying to capture a demon, the demon being more powerful than the Drow intended, or maybe the demon just wasn't feeling particularly helpful that day. This is a capital crime in the Drow community, as an uncontrolled demon is bad news not just for the Drow who summoned it, but for their entire house and Drow society as a whole. Not all summonings are mutually beneficial either. Some Drow will summon a demon to capture as a sign of status. There is no greater servant to own as a Drow than a demon. And on the flip side of that, sometimes they are summoned as guests. Big events and celebrations gain more status with one or more demons in attendance. And these peaceful gatherings with demons and Drow often fall into the most hedonistic displays, rivaling even the orgies the Drow hold on their own.
We've never talked about Drow having orgies yet, so the fact that we have to address both of these now in the same moment, yeah.
I'm just thinking Bridgerton balls and orgies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, it is a matriarch. I feel like we were going to get to orgies at some point.
At some point, orgies were going to happen. So they have their own, and they also have even bigger ones with demons involved.
You know what? It's my style. I'm here for it.
I read that book.
Yeah, I mean, this is... if you listen to our Strat episode, you know my feelings on orgies while playing D&D. So this feels like it's right up my original group's alley.
Alrighty. So there's a lot going on with Drow in general. What point in a full Drow-centric campaign do you start introducing the concepts of demonic relationships?
Right away.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
They walk in, demon orgy.
I mean, you don't have to jump right into the orgy right away, but I do feel like you can hint at the fact that they have these connections to these darker demonic beings.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you see it within their houses and within their households. And then like, it's just a thing that exists, but it's so natural to them that it's not really explained.
Yeah.
It's just like, it occurs. Like they're just holding hands with a demon. And it's just like, oh, that's nice, dear. Like, but to them it's normal, but you're standing there like, what the fuck? And then one of the servants or whatever just comes over and is just like, oh, well, you don't want to be here at nighttime. Like, just leave. Even though it's always nighttime down here. I'm just saying, I think that's a...
I feel like seeing some sort of demon walking through the streets of like Mesobaranzan or something along those lines, like one of the Drow cities, is just going to be like a common sight. It might be a little bit jarring at first, but they'll probably have some sort of fiend or demon walking around because that's kind of
Yeah.
part of their society.
They also
Yeah.
have like tons of weird minions that we've addressed in a couple of previous episodes, right? Like they keep spiders, lizards, all kinds of things are
Yeah.
following them around. It would
Mhm.
almost seem weird to not have weird connections with other demonic beings, right?
Yeah.
It just feels like it fits. But
Yeah.
if you're brand new to D&D and you don't know much about Drow, it might be a little bit enlightening.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But for folks who've been around and like know a little bit about Drow, like it would almost be expected, I think. So if you're doing a Drow-centric campaign, there's no reason why you can't have this right away in the game, right? As a part of the regular societal process, right?
Yeah, like I think it would be an easing in of like we sort of said, you would see one walking around the streets. Like that would not be uncommon, just to see a demon amongst the city. But like wait a little while before you get into the really like deep, dark, seedy like
Orgies.
reasoning on why. But I do like the idea of like a summoning gone bad as being a mission for your party. Like
Mm,
we need you to capture this demon before it is found out because this is a capital crime
mhm.
to have gone poorly. So I need you to quietly take care of this and not let any other Drows know.
Yeah. Swiftly and quietly, please.
Yes.
With the utmost respect. All right. Well, with that, I can jump right into the Yochlol because I feel like it fits nicely into this weird, creepy demonology we're going on here right now.
Yeah.
So the Yochlol is a weird, creepy, 8-limbed demon that are used by Lulth as spies or infiltrators into the Drow society and are used basically as their eyes and ears. And when you see the stat block, it kind of makes sense. So for those of you that are looking for it, these are just generally within the regular monster manual. So pretty easy to find if you're looking for the stat block, but there's not a lot of lore to be there. So you do kind of have to dig around to some other versions or what have you, just to find a little bit of lore there. But that is kind of like their whole thing, is that they're demons that worship Lulth and work for Lulth and so on and so forth. And in a couple of previous episodes, obviously, we have talked about Lulth and her anxiety around uprisings against her. So she does have a tendency to test her followers, as well as kind of spy on them a little bit to make sure that nobody is conspiring a coup. You know what I'm saying? So stat-wise, the Yochlol is a CR 10 medium fiend demon shape changer that is chaotic evil. With an AC of 15 and a high hit pool point of 136 and a regular speed and a climbing speed of 30. They are above average in all stats, their highest being a con at +4. Saving throws are in Dex, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. They have a Deception skill of +10 and an Insight of +6. It is actually quite rare. I was thinking about it today, and the internet will probably correct me, but there's not often that I see someone with a Deception score, unless we're talking about demons and demonia and all those things. So I think that's something to remind ourselves that they are meant to be deceptive, lying pieces of shit sometimes. They are resistant to cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks and is immune to poisons, which we learned is very important in the Drow society, because as we're getting into stat blocks of some of the other Drow, we're noticing all of them use poisons. Poisons is their thing. So a reminder, if you see Drow, poisons will exist. So, of course, their demons will probably have some kind of resistance or immunity to it if they're working amongst them. They speak Abyssal, Elvish, and Undercommon. And then for abilities, as mentioned, they are shape changers. So they actually can use an action specifically to polymorph into a form that resembles a female drow or a giant spider, because why not?
Yeah. They already have the legs for it.
Correct. They already have like weird little 8-limb tree nonsense grossness. And all their stats stay the same no matter what form they're in, whether in their original form, spider form, or a drow form. They have magical resistances, they have spider climb, they have web walking, and they are innate spellcasters with charisma. Same thing we've seen with most drow. But they can use detect thoughts, web, and dominate person. So you can see that shift in the type of spell they have in comparison to the Drow that we've been looking at. They tend to just have their dancing lights and their simple things, right? These ones are specifically built to be infiltrators, so that's why we're seeing that detect thoughts and dominate person. And of course, web, because they are web walkers and so on and so forth. For attacks, they have a multi-attack with slam, or if they're in spider form, it's a bite. So the attack itself is a +6 to hit, 1d6 +2 with either bludgeoning or piercing, depending if you're slamming or piercing. Depending if it is a slam or a bite, yeah. But then also it's an extra 6d6 poison damage, which is a lot. And if it is in demon form, it gets its 10-foot reach instead of 5. So if it's in its regular tree form, it has a 10-foot reach.
Wow.
Yeah. And then a reminder, they can do this twice in one round.
Some damage.
Right? So, and then finally they have a mist form, which is very similar to our vampire friends mist form, which is instead, though, it is like a gaseous mist. So if it passes through your space, it's a DC 12 con save or be poisoned, which means in this instance that you're considered incapacitated. So
just coming at you at all sides on this one.
It's a CR10. Like, I think this is one of the larger ones that we've kind of reviewed in the last couple episodes. Like, so, and it doesn't have a lot of attacks, but a 66 poison damage that could potentially like incapacitate you if it turns into mist, then that's a problem. So, and because in its mist form, it can move through spaces and move through forms, like it'll just fly across you and poison you with its poisonous nonsense. So,
alrighty, let's roll some dice.
Excellent. Here we go.
Let's talk about these Yochlols.
1.
9.
Coming in strong with 1. I got a 10. For the role playing of these, I really like the fact that, I mean, like, they are in a way Lolth's eyes and ears. You know, they're kind of, that's her intent. They're her spies, they're her infiltrators. So you're probably going to be coming across these guys pretty quick. I have a feeling that they're going to be using their disguised self. They're going to be either as a female drow or as a spider, just walking the webs. I know we've talked in the past couple of episodes about how Lolth would use like the spider webs that drape throughout the cities and things like that as kind of like forms of, you know, gathering information with the spiders that would be in them and things like that. And I feel like these Yochlols really fit into with that really well. So I think this is something that you could potentially encounter right off the bat, but might not know unless you know kind of drow culture, drow kind of lore and things like that, and have kind of history and knowledge in kind of like the different fiends that they're familiar with. You might not know that you're encountering a Yochlol.
Yeah. And even if you had the thought to use like trying to see if they're lying to you and vice versa, it's a very hard thing to beat because their wisdom and intelligence are +1 and +2. So they're above average.
And they've got a +10 to their deception as well. Yeah.
So, and their insight is +6. So unless someone on your team can better that, you're kind of hooped in A, finding out from just a roll if they're lying to you, and B, it would be hard to fool them, right? Yeah. Especially because they have detect thoughts. If they rolled like if me as a DM rolled oh crap, maybe I may or like a 10 or something like that middle ground that would tell you something but not all of it, they would then use their detect thoughts to figure out the rest, right? Yeah. So it's like you're kind of hooped one way or the other. I also like the idea of houses having one of these infiltrated into their homes, but like it's just like one of the maidens or what have you that's like hanging around the household that helps out and so on and so forth. It just happens to be one of these, and like each household has one, but no one knows who it is, kind of thing. But I think that would be like a good trigger that if a random drow tried to get into your household and XYZ, that might be one that's trying to infiltrate your house. But yeah, I feel like I agree. I think that especially if you are new to the city, probably the first or second drow you interact with is probably one of these. Yeah. Because they're going to sense that you do not belong here and they want to know what you're all about, right? Yeah. So they're going to gather any information they can from you. They're going to seem friendly. They're going to be very deceptive, and they're going to be like, what do you need? How can I help you? Like almost the exact opposite of what a drow would be, which I think would be a really good explorative, like maybe clue that this isn't a real drow. Like they're almost too welcoming. Whereas like maybe all the other Drow that you've interacted with have not been very welcoming, and all of a sudden this one is, and you don't know anything about Drow history, you might not pick up on it. But like if you want to metagame a little bit, you know a little bit about Drow, this might be a little bit off-putting, right? So, but yeah.
About you, Peps?
Yeah, like I definitely think it's like Megan was saying, it's gonna almost be too charming to get like information out of you. And I would see them like also being used if not a random meet, you know, on out and about to gain information from you secretly. Like I could see these being used as interrogators in a situation where like you are brought to a room and this I don't think you're ever going to see them in their true form unless you're fighting them and they turn into that for advantage purposes. You are going to see them as the Drow woman that they can turn into. Or you might like sense a spider following you or like checking you out along the street or something. Like you see spiders walking around because it's Drow, but like one is particularly watching you. But you're not gonna like it's not gonna come in its demon form to talk to you because that would be too off-putting and you wouldn't get the information out of them.
Yeah, and it would assume that anything you're telling it, you know that it's going to go back and tell Lolth, right?
Yeah. So yes, like you would only see it in its Drow lady form. It would be very good at gaslighting you. Like that is the thing. It would gaslight you so hard you would believe it.
Yeah. It's like, thanks for that.
Yeah, like while it's like interrogating you, you're gonna come out of that feeling like, what just happened? Did I say that? What?
Yeah, what did I just do?
Yeah. Was that a good guy or a bad guy? Are they helping us?
Yeah.
And you're just gonna be very confused about the entire situation.
Yeah, I agree. Alrighty. Moving on, we are going to talk about Glabrezu. So Glabrezu are demons from the abyss, resembling massive four-armed creatures with sharp pincer-like claws on their massive upper arms, humanoid and clawed hands for their lower set of arms, and a very muscular build. Their skin is dark red with ridges of horns or spikes adorning their shoulders, chest, and running down their flanks, and have canine-like features with boat-like horns on the top of their head with rows of sharp fanged teeth. So these guys, art in the monster manual of them is wicked awesome. Yeah, I really liked the art in this one, so kudos to the artist on that. Lore for these guys. So the Glabrezu, they serve as powerful agents of chaos, known for being cunning and for their manipulation. They're often associated with desire and forbidden knowledge, known for specializing in the temptation of mortals. So unlike succubi that prey on lust, Glabrezu exploit their mortals' desire for power. Despite all this, Glabrezu only hold middle-class positions, often acting as advisors or chief lieutenants for more powerful demons or conducting a little espionage. So they're quite spy-like. So for the stat blocks for these guys, they have a CR of 9, an AC of 17, and they've got about 157 hit points. They are stacked as far as stats are concerned. They have a +5 to their strength and constitution, a +4 to their intelligence, a +3 to their wisdom and charisma, and a +2 to their dex. They have true sight for 120 feet, and their passive perception is 13. They also speak abyssal, and they have telepathy up to 120 feet. And they have damage and condition immunity to being poisoned. So that kind of falls in line with what we've been seeing from some of the demons and minions with the Drow being immune to poison. For some features and traits, they've got innate spellcasting using intelligence with a spell save DC of 16. They can cast darkness, detect magic, and dispel magic at will with no material components, and can cast confusion, fly, and power word stun once per day. They've got magic resistance, so they have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. They have a multi-attack, so they can make 4 attacks, 2 with their pincers and 2 with their humanoid fists. So their pincers are a melee with a +9 to hit, and a 10-foot reach, and one target gets 2d10 plus 5 bludgeoning damage. If the target is medium or smaller, they are grappled, and it's a DC 15 to escape. With its 2 pincers, the Glabrezu can grapple 1 target per feet. So they've also got their fist melee with a +9 to hit and a 5-foot reach. And then 1 target receives 2d4 plus 2 points of bludgeoning damage.
Can I say that I don't know why this is a CR9 and the Yochlol is a CR10?
I also agree. When you were talking about the Yochlol as a CR10, I was like, I'm like, it's so buffy.
Yeah, I know that, like,
CR9.
at first I was like, okay, well, the psychological stuff can sometimes, like, add to the complexity and dangerousness of, like, some creatures. However, can we just say that using the ability to have detect magic and dispel magic at will, as well as just being able to add confusion into that mix, like, that's fucked.
Power word stun.
Yeah. Well, power word stun is once per day, which is a little bit easier.
As well as 4 melee attacks with the ability to grapple 2 medium creatures.
Yeah, like that's per deadly. That's pretty deadly, my friends.
Yeah.
Like, also telepathy.
Guys,
like their mind abilities are a lot stronger than the Yochlol in my mind.
Well, and true sight too.
Well, I was going to say, I find it interesting, like their true sight and their telepathy are the exact same distance as well. So they're going to see you coming and they're going to be talking to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's so weird. Like, I guess because, like, having the ability to polymorph and shape change makes you a little bit more, exceedingly dangerous. And this is just ahead of the curve. It's going to kill you if you see it. But, like, that's a pretty deep power balance. And I'm happy to have the internet tell me otherwise, but that seems pretty unbalanced to me in terms of CR level.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, even looking at just like the AC and HP, like the Yochlol has less from my quick scroll up to your notes.
No, they're squishy as fuck. I think it was a 15.
Yeah, these have a 17,
AC
and
15 and 136. Yeah. And this is 17 and 157. Yeah.
Someone make the math make sense on the internet.
Somebody call Chris Perkin.
Yeah, I want to figure that one out. Anyways, those are really cool. I like them a lot.
One more time we're saying Wizards was wrong. Someone give us a job over there, you know?
We'll figure it out for you, I promise. So, by emotion and feel, not by math. We'll figure it
out. So next up are the Draegloths. So Draegloths are large fiends described as being ogre-sized with 4 arms. They've got dark purplish skin and white kind of fur-like hair. Their upper arms are very muscular with sharp claws, while their 2 smaller arms are more elf-like. They're graceful and delicate and capable of kind of doing more fine dexterous movements. Although the creature is muscled, it retains a lot of its grace from its partial fate ancestry. Draegloths are deeply rooted in dark and treacherous lore within the Drow, particularly regarding the worship of Lolth. High priestesses of Lolth often seek to gain favor from their goddess through dark rituals and sacrifices. These priestesses are known to perform forbidden ceremonies that culminate in the horrific merging of their essence with that of Glabrezu. So essentially, these Draegloths are the offspring of a Drow priestess and the Glabrezu demon. This ritual is not only a display of devotion to Lolth, but is also a means of acquiring immense power. During the ritual, the priestess invokes Lolth's name and calls upon Glabrezu to merge its chaotic essence with her own. This process is fraught with danger as it requires the priestess to maintain control over the demon's influence. Failure can result in madness or the complete corruption of the priestess, but success births Draegloth, an entity that embodies both the cunning of the Drow and the brutal strength of its demon father. Draegloths serve as both warriors and enforcers for their Drow matriarchs. They are often dispatched on missions of assassination or to spread chaos and fear among enemies of their household. Their existence is a testament to the dark ambition of Lolth's followers, illustrating the lengths at which they will go to secure power in the brutal hierarchy of the Drow society. These hybrid beings are not merely pawns, though. They do possess kind of their own ambitions and desires. They don't like to take direction from anybody, including their matriarchs, and so they often seek to usurp their matriarch's power or elevate their own status within the ranks of the Drow. As such, Draegloths can be both loyal servants and treacherous foes, navigating the waters of Drow politics while maintaining their demonic heritage's chaotic influence. In essence, Draegloths are the living embodiment of both dark sacrifices made in the name of Lolth, representing the dangerous insurrection of the Drow ambition and demonic power. Their creation is a chilling reminder of the lengths at which the followers of Lolth will go to achieve supremacy in the unforgiving world of the Underdark. So stat blocks for these guys. They have a CR 7 with an AC of 15 and about 123 hit points. They have a +5 to strength, +4 to constitution, +2 to dex, +1 to intelligence, and they have a +0 in wisdom and charisma. They have a +3 to perception and a +5 to stealth. They have resistance to cold, fire, and lightning damage. They have damage and condition immunities to being poisoned. They have dark vision of 120 feet, passive perception of 13, and they speak Abyssal, Elvish, and Undercommon. So they have Fey ancestry from their Drow side, so they have advantage on saving throws against being charmed and cannot be magically put to sleep. And then for actions, they have a multi-attack. They can make 1 bite and 2 claw attacks. So their bite is a melee weapon of a +8 to hit with a 5-foot reach for 2d10 +5 piercing damage. And then their claw attacks are melee weapon with +8 to hit. And a 10-foot reach that deals 2d10 +5 points of slashing damage. And they can also, they've also got spell casting, so they use intelligence with a spell save DC of 11 to cast the following will. They can do dancing lights and darkness, and then once per day they can do confusion and fairy fire. So that's the Draegloths. So let's go right into rolling some dice so we
Sure.
can talk about these guys.
So I did realize why the Yochlol might be stronger than the other two in terms of CR. It's the math of the actual attacks themselves.
Gotcha.
So yes, the I'm gonna say Mr. G because I don't actually remember how to like Glabrezu.
Yeah.
Glabby. His attacks, yes, he has 4 of them, but they kind of have like max damage of 2d10 +5, right? And yes, it can grapple it, but mathematically, that's less than 2 sets of 266 poisoning damage that the Yochlol does.
Yeah, that's true.
So mathematically, from attacks alone, technically, the Yochlol does take it. So, guys, it hit me when you were talking about this one because it's a CR 7.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that seems strange again because its strength and its con and all those things are super high. But then when we go into the attacks and the attack actions, it's 2d10 +5 piercing damage, XYZ, right? So their attacks are a little bit more generic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, internet. I figured it out for you. You don't have to yell at me. Anyways.
They already did. There's already a Reddit post about it.
Oh yeah, someone is like, that fucking bitch. I don't understand why she can't do basic math. And like, you know, like, that's fine. Anyways. All right.
Alrighty, what do we roll?
Oh, let me roll.
7.
11.
Roll the 16.
Nice. Talking to yourself again, Ellen.
Yes. So I mean, these guys, I don't know, like these guys seem intimidating AF, but also I feel like these guys might be invited to the Drow orgies. Or at least the
100%. Are you
at least
one has 4 arms.
Yeah.
4 arms.
Glabrezus. You know, like I'm just gonna throw that one out there. I mean, if the full intent of it is to essentially populate with these Glabrezus, they're gonna be invited. Yeah, just throwing that one there. As far as like, I don't know, like these guys, I feel like the Draegloths are gonna be like, it's gonna be like, oh crap, this family has a Draegloth. And you might have to make some history checks, or might have to get your party to make some history checks, or if you have someone that does have knowledge in Drow lore, or this might not be kind of their first go down in the Underdark in their interaction with Drow. They might know the significance of it, but I think that they'll probably have some questions because these things look Drow-esque.
Yeah.
With their purple skin and their white hair. and they're quite kind of like delicate in their movements. So it's gonna be a little bit weird seeing these being like, why do these look like Drow? But they're very obviously like demon. And then somebody's gonna be like, oh yeah, XYZ. They're just gonna give them the whole rundown of the priestess that was crazy enough to try and, seduce a Glabrezu.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but I
think,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Like they don't really talk about seduction as a part of their innate abilities, but like I feel like because of what we're going, the train we're going down here, like all of them have a high charisma, which like, or at least a general average charisma, right? But I don't know. I feel like if I just wanted to have like a one shot that made sense to go down to the Underdark would be knowing that Drow had access to demons and one of your characters, a warlock who has an interest in demonology. It's a part that we haven't really talked about in terms of the Drow yet, which is why I'm really enjoying this episode and bringing up the fact that they have such a connection with demons and fiends. Is like that's a huge area that could bring someone down to the Underdark to have a look at it in a one shot, right? Not have to be here for a long time, but like let's say like one of your friends, like souls or whatever, was stolen by one of these demons, and you have no idea where to find them, and someone's like, well, the Drow often are connected to them, so why don't you head down there and find out what you can? Like it could be a learning expedition. You might end up taking a level in a warlock with a fiend or a demon or what have you. So there's a lot to play with just the fact that the Drow have a connection to demons and demon lore. So, and I think that these ones are just kind of like scratching the surface of what they would have access to. Because some of them are, and rules is written, connected to Lulth and so on and so forth, just because of the Underdark and her reign over it and thusly. But there's a lot of demons that you could utilize, and not just these ones, right? So I think that just from a storytelling point, the Drow is a great place to bring demonology in. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing demon one-shots, you might include the Drow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just looked up pictures of both of these.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I did not know what they looked like.
Yeah. The Glabrezu, I love the art on it.
I love that clearly they only do arm day for one set of their arms.
100%.
Both.
Just the upper arms. Both. Just the upper arms.
It cracks me up. Yeah, and the Draegloths are definitely a result of the orgies with the
right? Yeah, they are the products.
They are the products of the orgies. But I think they would have like that would be a very interesting dynamic of if they then get brought up Drow or if they then get brought up demon. Like they come together for these parties and then they separate which one is the mom, which one keeps them. How do they get brought up in that situation?
Are they doing split custody? Or like what's the scenario?
You get them
here?
for the winter, I get them for the summer. Like what is the situation?
I feel like the Glabrezus are kind of that dad that it's like, I'll show up for the holidays. Let them be present. I exist, but like
I'll pop by after the next orgy, say hi to the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, maybe I'll pick you up on my way and then I'll just make sure I say hi to the kids. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Just like stopping in at their own convenience and not when it's convenient for the high priestess or
they only show up when they're feeling guilt,
When they get summoned at a real bad time and they're like, fuck, now I gotta go see my kid.
All right, hear me out. Here's the one shot that we play on this. It's gonna be a court. It's gonna be Judge Judy and like a claim of court in terms of who gets the kids. Like I just can't.
Child support.
Have a custody battle.
It's a custody battle, and you have to like make claim for like the fact that I'm a demon and I live in the Underdark and I rule and reign the evil, and this is not a safe place for children, and so on and so forth. But here's all the wonderful things that I could do for my kids.
I could show it arm day exercises just for the upper arms.
Just the upper arms.
Just the upper arms.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm here for that one shot. Oh my goodness. And I feel like for exploration pieces, like I just want to touch on this too, that when we're talking demonology, I feel like even though they don't have an inherent built-in like layer effect or area of effect, I feel like fiends and demons just naturally have a darkness that allures around them. Mm-hmm. So if they were to have like one of these Draegloths or XYZ within their households because they're a result of one night stand that occurred. There would be something about the area of the house that this lives in. Or it's in the basement, or it's in the attic, or it is in the backyard and its own little mausoleum. You know what I mean? Like it has its own space just because of, in my mind, the aura that these things would have. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just my own personal feel on how demons and fiends operate in D&D, and what differentiates them from others is that feeling you get when you approach them. Like we talked about it a lot in the Undead series with ghosts and spectral beings, that you get a feeling of it's cold in the area, or like it just feels like death. It smells like death. Like I feel like these ones are relatively clean. I don't feel like we'll have that same undead bespoke disgustingness, because I feel like with all Drow, they have a necessity to feel, again, I feel Drow should have prestidigitation. Like they should just be clean all the time and well kept. And like even these demons are, but there's something about them that just makes you feel uneasy when you're around.
There's just like an ominous feeling to it.
Yeah. Like that paladin that walks in for some stupid reason is all of a sudden like eyes on this thing, because it's just like I feel nothing but death coming from this thing in the corner.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I
want to give them levitation, the Draegloths, like all the other, like they have all the other Drow stuff, the dancing lights and the fairy fire and the darkness. I want to give them levitation.
Yeah, man.
That would be horrifying.
Yeah.
Just these things floating around.
Well, we talked about it in our last episode. I think it was, we were talking about how most of the Drow and the Drow armies, all of them have levitate that they can cast on themselves. And so in my mind, they can move around without a trace. They can be hidden. This is how they stay sneaky. I feel like if they live with Drow and amongst Drow, this is an ability they would develop. Absolutely. Yeah. I would give it to them. Yeah. So we always like to wrap up with a little bit of a minion here. So we're going to talk today about the Fiendish giant spider, because there's not enough different types of spiders in this world. So basically, these are the former servants of the Drow, and in my mind, burn with a vengeful energy. So these are like, it doesn't give a lot to explain what happens with them, but it just says that they're the former servants of the Drow, not the current, not the potential. They are the former. So we can read into that however we so like, because it is one sentence they give us, as they always do. So stat-wise, though, they are to be treated as giant wolf spiders. So they are a CR of 1/2 with added resistance to cold, fire, and lightning, as well as immune to being poisoned and poison damage, obviously. They are a medium beast with an AC of 13, 40-foot speed, and climbing speed. And being spiders, they, of course, have spider climb, web sense, and web walk. So they have all of them. For attacks, they bite, with a +3 to hit with 1d6 + 1 damage, and the extra 2d6 poisoning damage, along with a DC 11 con save, or take an extra, so the extra 2d6 poison damage is after a DC con save. If you fail, you take the full damage. If you succeed, you take half damage. And if you're reduced to 0 with the poison itself, you're poisoned for 1 hour, but stable, which in this instance means you're paralyzed. So they don't actually kill you. So if you think, like, these ones to me read as they actually have that proper spider venom where they paralyze you, wrap you up, and then take you away for a later day. Yeah. So if you're ever wanting your folks to get captured by spiders, these are the ones to do it with, because they could drop you to 0 hit points, paralyze you, and run away with you. So, but you're still alive. Yeah.
Let us roll some dice. Talk about these fiendish giant spiders.
8.
12.
10.
I'm not rolling great this episode. I blame Adam. They're his dice. He gave them to me.
Alrighty. So, what is one interesting or unique way that you would use these minions in a Drow campaign?
So because it is speaking that they're the former servants of Drow, I feel they would not really have any ties to a Drow family or household. So they would be the ones that you find in the wild outskirts of the Drow city. So these would be the wild spiders is how I see them. And a unique way I would have these is like maybe a bunch got cast out from the same family and they still like wear a crest or something of that family, but it's been broken or shattered or what have you. So it helps you kind of like investigate and explore Drow lore without doing it with Drow. You're actually doing it with the different types of spiders that you're seeing and finding. And maybe these spiders like having folks that they're attached to. So let's say you run across a group of these spiders and your ranger who has animal handling decides to make good friends with this spider, and it's now their minion and following them around, and you go into this Drow city, the family that the spider used to belong to recognizes it and is like, you shouldn't be here. You were banished for XYZ reason, or so on and so forth. Like, I'm really leaning heavily into the one sentence that we got in terms of lore that they're former spider servants. But I think that would be a really interesting kind of thing to happen. Because, you know, you will always have that animal handling character that will want to have a spider as a minion. This is the only one that I could see you convincing it to do so. Because it used to have a connection with being a part of a family or what have you, and maybe it's still craving that attention and care from a family, and so it would approach you, and it would be easier to get on your side. So I think that's an interesting way to use it if you want to have a spider minion in your party.
Who doesn't want a spider minion?
We had a party with a spider minion.
Ew.
We named him Peter.
I don't like it.
Horrible. I was kind of thinking very similarly on the same lines. I mean, yeah, we were only given one line of they were former servants and they burned with vengeful energy. Where my brain went was with the Drow renegades and like Drits and all of that. I have a feeling that like these would be either companions of the renegades or would be hanging out with the renegades as kind of both being formerly embedded within the Drow society. I also kind of, because they reduce you to 0 hit points without actually killing you, I have a feeling that like I would question how distinguishable these spiders are from like other spiders, and like would Drow recognize them, and could they be like, if your party was in danger and like the renegades knew that you were in danger, could the renegades send them in disguised as spiders of actual houses with the sole purpose of trying to essentially save you as like kind of like an extraction tactic to, okay, they're going to get you out of there. And they're gonna paralyze you and wrap you up and like make it seem like they're essentially dragging you off, but then they're actually dragging you to safety type thing. So I feel like you could
you're right.
flip it a little bit to use them for good.
It's like the whole Charlotte's Web scenario, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. So just kind of flipping them a little bit, because if they're former servants and they have a vengeful energy, I feel like vengeance is against the Drow. And so they're going to want to try and take down the Drow or something along those lines, maybe. Could potentially be used that way.
Yeah, save you from their meanness.
Yeah. On a line with the renegades or with whomever is kind of also on the outskirts of the Drow society now.
Yeah. I like the idea of both of those, and then like this spider, like Megan said, your party like acquires it as its familiar pet or minion, and goes into the city, and the house that it used to belong to sees your party as a problem. Like you become a problem, and they send somebody to speak with this spider, and we'll let you back in the house, but you have to deliver your friends.
Yeah.
And suddenly like it becomes this mole in your party of trying to like capture you and bring you to its old house to regain the favor that it
and
once
make its
had.
way back into the household.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel so sad for these spiders. Like I just, you know, like
words I never thought would come out of Megan's mouth.
They're just out here trying to find a family. You know what I mean? Like again, if I don't see them, it's none of my business that they exist. You know, and it just. I want them to be. I want them to be happy, and I want them to eat, just not at my table. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, just you be over there doing your thing.
Yeah,
it is like
somewhere else.
We do only get one line of any sort of inspiration for them, so yeah, like there's not much for us to go off like, other than they used to be servants.
Yeah, and like I keep trying to figure out like what would a spider do that it would lose favor of a Drow household, that it would get kicked out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted, that's a story I would want to explore.
Yeah.
It's just like, what heinous thing did this fiendish spider do? Like, did it accidentally eat, like, the baby eggs of another spider? Or did it, like, accidentally, like, it's clumsy and it's, like, embarrassing? And, like, what is it doing that causes it to be cast out? You know what I mean?
Well, and did it have a different form and then got turned into this when it got cast out?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is also a good one. He is.
Yeah, and the only way it can regain its truer form, like to break whatever curse it is to gain favor by the household again.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like desperate to do that. So even though your party is like showing it the most kindness it's ever been shown in its life,
It's still attached to its old family.
still
Yeah.
wants
No.
like its true form and who it used to be back.
Yeah. But then maybe that's the flip side, is that like you get that story from the spider, but then it's just like the only way I can turn back into like my truer form is if the house maiden or the house captain is killed, because that's who turned me into the spider. Right? Or it could be like a tragic love story. You know what I mean? Like this poor little spider like fell in love with one of the Drow house maidens, but they weren't high enough in rank, but they were going to run away and fall in love anyways, Romeo and Juliet style. And then like the matron mother turned them into a spider and sent them away. Didn't have the strength to turn them into a full drider, so sent them away with, you are now just a fiendish, vengeful spider that has been cast out of the Drow society.
Yeah.
Peace out. This poor little spider. Anyways, to wrap up this episode, I feel like we've talked about, again, a very big component around Drow that we have not talked about before, which is their connection to demonology, which I mentioned earlier. This is just a huge area that you can explore. There are many rhymes and reasons why Lolth would have connections to different demons, different fiends, different devils, even if you want to go that far. Because she was a god. She is a god. There's no reason why there would be no connection to the exact opposite, right? So, and it's a huge piece that can be used. Like, because even though we worship Lolth, maybe there's a family that has a huge worship towards one of these demons, right? What does that look like? How does that feel? So a very broad spectrum of things that people can explore. So I'd say as DMs, this is one that if you want a demon story, Drow is a very good place to start. But I don't know if you guys had any final thoughts as well.
No, I think
Yeah.
it sums it up real well.
Yeah.
I think you can definitely play around with it. I think not only in Out of the Abyss, but in Mordekainen presents the Monsters of the Multiverse, or even just straight out of like the Monster Manual and things like that. There's a lot of inspiration that you can pull to bring these into kind of the Drow. Like even whether it's a one shot or it's a Drow centric campaign that you're running, or it's just you guys are just doing a little vacation down in the Underdark. I think that there's a lot of inspiration that you guys can pull.
Yeah. And, don't forget your invitation to the orgies.
Yeah, make sure you bring it with you.
Yeah.
Do we feel like orgies are like the after party to the Bridgerton balls?
Yes. 100%. But it's like by invitation only. So part of the ball is to get the invitation.
Yeah. It's like, you don't know if you're going to get the invitation to the orgy until you're at the ball. You know that they happen, but like you have to be dressed and presented in a very specific way. And they're like, they're awarded at the ball. Like, okay, you can come in.
You're like tapped in a specific way.
Like Mother Matron, like sure dress today. You are allowed in.
100%.
You brought a demon. You're in.
Yeah, I see what you brought. Bring it on in. Yeah. Unhinged, ladies. Unhinged.
Do they expect anything less from us?
You're not wrong. It took us a while to get here with Drow, and here we are.
Here we are. It just took me being here. And it said orgies one time in my description and my lore. All right. So that's all for this discussion on Drow in D&D 5th edition. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, comment, and review to help push our engagement. And don't forget to subscribe to find future inspirations for your campaigns.
If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com, as well as a Patreon. This episode and others can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcasts. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get, like Drow orgies.
Drow orgies.
We really just need to do a ball episode of some kind. Like, I know
Yeah.
that Adam gifted us all like the princesses one, but we're gonna have to make it Drow princesses. Like, it's just we're gonna have to do it that
Do
way,
a Drow
guys.
Princess just ball episode, like one shot. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
We're in it. We're in it.
I will DM a Drow orgy for us.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
I appreciate this about you.
Yeah.
I'll send you photos of the demons in this book that I would like to attend. If
Okay.
that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Send me all the inspiration pictures and videos you want to send me.
Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Like a Baristro, Glabrezu.
Yeah, the Garisto.
This is our hear me out cake.
Okay, hear me out. The Maryland.
Baristro.
Like this madam right here. Like, can we just have one of those?
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like,
Oh, yes.
Those
Oh,
hands
the
can hold things other than swords.
Merilith.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Marilith. I mean, I'll take the
Oh, I Just
Vargor.
saw the picture of the Yochlol.
Yeah.
God, that thing is horrid.
Yeah, we don't want that.
That's
at the
why I
orgy.
said that
No.
one is only coming in as a lady drow.
Yeah.
Okay, but shadow demons?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like shadow
Yeah.
demons are they are at the door. You know what I mean? They're the one that guides me in. But like the Baylor, like, come on.
Horned devil?
Mm-hmm.
I like how
There's
you can
a-
see Lindsay and I's difference in taste of men too. When we're looking at the ones that we're both pointing out. Like,
That was very telling.
Okay,
yeah.
but pit fiend. I feel like we could both get on board with the pit fiend.
Oh yeah, we get like literally both on board on that pit fiend.
I like
so.
all the tails and wings that we're seeing right now.
I have to look at who's editing this episode and apologize to them personally ahead of time.
This all needs to be cut and then just sent to Adam, and he can do with it as he would
Nah,
like.
just
for
put
bloopers.
it. Just put it in the
This is the
bloopers.
end. Put it at the end.
Yeah.
Uh,
Everyone
Let's throw
everyone
it-
needs to know because I want
Let's throw-
other people's suggestions of what they would bring to their demon orgy, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll throw in some dragons in there just for fun, just for a little sprinkle of flavor.
Yeah,
I
I'm here for
really love this as a hear me out cake.
it. Like a D&D hear me
Just
out.
D&D hear
I
me
feel
out
like we
cake.
should do that as
Uh-huh.
that'll be our sum up of like this. Or maybe we've got a couple more episodes of Undead to film, and maybe the 5 of us get together and we do a hear me out for
Oh, yeah.
Undead.
Once yeah, because like once all the Drow recordings are done and all the Undead recordings are done, we should do a hear me out.
We'll do a Lady Mimic
Mhm.
mailbag hear me out episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Love it. Love it. Love it.